first to the floor here. Pierce comes up with it. Hit the deck, first to the floor, making every big play for the Celtics today. Tatum knocks it away, trying to get it. Dives.
What a play by Dave Coward. Watch him dive for the ball right here. Look at this hustle.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Coming up on the show, we'll recap the Celtics' 60th win. We'll fire up the Shart and Freuder report and check in on our closest rivals. And stick around till the end because we'll dive into what is the most likely, or what currently is the most likely playoff picture in the East. Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg are both here. Guys, how's it going?
Doing great, man. You know, my cat just knocked a spoon over. It's actually
Spoony.
chaos in the slaughterhouse.
Wow.
Dude.
There you
I'm
go.
all over the place. Yeah. Otherwise, great.
Hell yeah, dude. It's fun. It's all happening, dudes. And like all happening to everybody else and not the Celtics. Like it's just the NBA is in full chaos mode. Like there's like 6 different seedings races going on in each conference from like the top all the way down. Meanwhile, the Celtics have just clinched the number 1 overall seed with 7 games or however many to go. And it's just absurd. So I'm just enjoying like sitting back, like getting crazy, convincing myself different matchups. Oh my God, seeding. It's just, it's good times.
Hell yeah,
What if
dude.
Embiid's
We're gonna
not healthy.
Yeah.
Sick. I know. Yeah, it's endless, man.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack all of that. It's going to be great. Well, look, with that clinching, there is an unclenching, at least temporarily, while there's six games or so where we can relax before shit gets crazy for the postseason. I just want to start here. Obviously, the Celtics, they beat the OKC Thunder yesterday, 135-100. Great game for the old net rating, which is still, I think, 4th best all time, with some potential, depending on how the Stay Ready crew, who hopefully take most of the minutes for the remainder of the season. Depending on how they play, it might sit around that 4th best all-time mark, which I'm personally very okay with. Spoonie, we'll start with you because we didn't have you on late night last night. 60 wins. Pretty fucking amazing. First time since 2009. This is a corny way to position this question, but it's such a rarity that I kind of have to ask it. And folks in the chat, we want to hear your thoughts as well. What does 60 wins mean to you as a fan?
So, okay, while I was watching my child, I looked up some stats, some history here. So we've done it 14 times. 6 of those teams won the championship. 9 times we've won 62. 5 of those won a championship. So those odds don't sound great, but like, oh, my mom's here. Yeah. But we've only won 60 games 3 times since 1986, and they were right in a row, 07, 08, 08, 09. So it really, I mean, I was a fan. I listened to the radio, watched a lot of those games, but not in the way that I watch them now. Certainly this podcast was about a decade out plus for my future. So this is easily the most fun season I've had in a very, very long time. I think it has eclipsed the IT season just because that felt not real. Like there was no like, it was fun. It was awesome.
It was magical.
Yeah.
There was a little
they weren't gonna win
leprechaun
the
leading this team.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But they weren't ever going to win the championship, So this one's a little different. Like this team they're just completely loaded. The way they just destroyed Oklahoma City in the 4th quarter, like there's not many teams in NBA history who can go on a run like that and dominate both ends. So, yeah, it doesn't happen a lot. We should definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, yesterday was really fun. Watching the Thunder game with Spoonie on playback. If you're not in there, get playback.tv/Celtics plug. Just watching with the fellas. And this team, I'm torn on like, is it more fun than that team or not? Because there's just something special about exceeding expectations versus like, and what's crazy is we actually have exceeded expectations this regular season as well. As high as we were on the Celtics coming into this year, I'm not sure even though I bet 60 plus wins, they could easily, we got 7 games left. They probably at worst go 4-3, even if they're resting guys, just because of how good the deep bench has been as well. So you're looking at 62, 63, 64 wins. That's well over what was expected from these guys as well. And so from that perspective, and then like obviously not just the wins, but like of all the net rating, the point differential, like how much better they are compared to the rest of the conference and the league, at least in the regular season, is not something that I necessarily saw coming. Like I wasn't super high on the Bucks to begin with, but I wasn't this low on the Bucks either. I didn't think that we'd be 13 games ahead of the 2 seed is so ridiculous, dude.
They're closer to 10th than us.
Yeah.
That's nuts, dude.
Yeah, so it's been awesome, and I was talking to Ben Golliver, a friend of the program, Washington Post, greatest of all talk on Instagram. He's going to come on. He refused to come on before the end of the season because he says, I'm coming on in June before the finals, and I was like,
don't do that to us.
I know.
He's convinced that the Celtics are going to cakewalk the East because of the rest of the conference falling apart. But I'm like, I'm just enjoying this stress-free regular season. It's been beautiful, but I'm ready.
How or why Ben Golliver would negate the opportunity to shit on the Celtics at that moment is very surprising to me, but always very happy to have a writer of his stature on the show. I'll also add 60 wins, important chapter in the Jays era. That we've been so fortunate as fans since Jaylen Brown's rookie year where they went to the conference finals. We've been absolutely spoiled. They've given us everything we could possibly ask for, with the exception of a championship and maybe just an epic, let's just own everyone throughout the regular season. That's what we've just got with 60 plus wins now, and it's just an incredible chapter in whatever the Jays book looks like when we close that book one day. This is a very vital section of that book, so that's really good. You said it was the most enjoyable season of all time. I agree. Not of all time, but it's sort of in recent history. Sorry, to rephrase that. I agree in that they set the bar really high, impossibly high, and then at least basically maintain that level all season, which is fantastic and it's super difficult to uphold. I will say that there have been undertones of stress. We've kind of dealt with this psychology of fandom in the past on this show, but with high expectations becomes it's a steep fall down from those heights, and there's always this looming feeling of when's it gonna end, man? When's my time gonna come up? And we've been so fortunate, touch wood, everyone's relatively healthy at this point of the season. The team haven't sort of fallen out of rhythm, at least for multiple beyond 2-game stretches. They've looked really good consistently, and now we head into the playoffs and we wipe the board clean. Everyone's at 0-0, and we start again for potentially certainly the most grueling part of the season. And this is where I want to transition to Kristaps Porzingis, who was fantastic last night against OKC. Finally kind of looked like himself again and was actually quite dominant, getting those switches and posting up from the free throw line, if you could even call it that. How do you guys think KP will handle the playoffs? Because it's been somewhat of a miracle just getting him to this point in the season, relatively healthy. Now he's going to, I'll use that word again, grueling. He's going to enter the most grueling segment potentially of his entire career. And now we've got to keep him healthy through this entire stretch while keeping him impactful on the court. Do you guys have any concern? Obviously, this is coming from a place of concern from myself.
We know.
Well, I just do the show so that you guys can talk me off a ledge. That's all it is. How do you guys feel about KP going into the playoffs and whether he can maintain his level all the way through to the finals if we make it that far?
Well, real quick, let me ask you this, Ben. Do you think Oklahoma City was playing with playoff intensity?
No. Well,
you don't. See, I thought they were playing pretty damn hard. They're kind of a try-hardy Knicks style team, I thought.
The denials on the entry passes, they were really tenacious there. So I do think we have to fight for those KP touches at least early. But playoff tenacity, it's a whole nother level.
Okay, fair enough. I guess what I'm saying is that at least that's one data point to the positive of KP being able to handle the playoffs, because they've got these squat, strong defenders even when you switch. Switching on to Lou Dort is not easy. That dude is built like a friggin' tank. I don't know what he's built out of. Adamantium, is that the Wolverine stuff?
Yeah, you got it.
So he's built out of adamantium. He's just Canadian strong, and KP can just turn and shoot over these dudes, and it's a good shot. It's not a good shot for very many guys in the NBA, but he doesn't need to back people down and put them in the rim and get all the way to the rim and take 6-7 shots every post up, shots to the body. He could just be okay, let me get settled here. My feet are ready. And then I'll turn around, hold the ball 15 feet in the air and shoot it down into the net, which he did 6 times against Oklahoma City.
It was so good.
So I think he'll be fine.
Like, yeah, look, there's definitely an element of that, but I think it's also important to remember that everybody else has to deal with this stuff as well. And obviously, like KP, maybe, like the furthest he's gone, I think, in the playoffs is the first round. I don't think that in either of those Clippers Mavs rounds were in the second round. I believe they were both in the first round. So, yeah, this is going to be the first time he, in theory, experiences the second round of the NBA playoffs. And so
That scared me, actually, Jake.
yeah, dude. It's all fucking sounds great until we're down 7-2 in the first quarter of game one. And it's like,
Yes.
oh my god, I'm shitting my pants.
It's over.
Probably will happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so I'm not especially worried because of what you said, Spoonie. The way that he likes to mix it up, dude. He's kind of got that Eastern European, Latvian toughness to him. There's like a limit to how physical he can get at times, just because of the weight of his ass and the lightness of it at times. and we saw that like maybe once last night, like kind of Chet kind of got to the body, but then for the most part, when he's like really positioned well and the Celtics are allowing him to kind of like just roam as a shot blocker as opposed to like taking hits down low and then defending that way, he really likes to mix it up. The rebounding has been really good lately. And I really believe in his mentality and his confidence. Like these European dudes, I've said it a bunch this year, like they're just not scared of the NBA American playoffs. Like they've been going through like serious basketball environments from a really, really young age, like way more intense than anything they've had to face in the NBA from like a younger age. So like that's the part that I think I would potentially I could see being concerned about, but he's got the killer instinct, man. Like he's never going to stop.
Yeah, well, on his mentality, I teased this on late night last night, but watch these clips. There's one clip from Jaylen Brown, one clip from Peyton Pritchard. I've got the clips now after teasing it last night. Watch these and tell me that there hasn't been some sort of behind-the-scenes locker room conversation to KP about his mentality and his approach to each game.
Yeah, KP, he's a key piece in everything that we're trying to do. So, just trying to get him going, and when KP is physical, when he's challenging guys at the rim, when he's alert to the doubles, he's not, flopping and he's holding his ground. He's been, extremely impactful. So we just want to encourage to bring that side out, because the more we see that KP, the less we'll lose.
What do you think of the show KP's put on so far?
It just shows what he's capable of and what he needs to bring every night. And he's going to dominate the paint, and that will take us a far way.
Peyton, thank you very much.
Do you get a sense, Spoonie, from watching those that there have been recent discussions? I'm drumming up content here a little bit, but it seems somewhat pointed. Am I wrong?
Yeah, their answers were very similar in a way that it feels like that's probably been conversations with KP, like maybe in practice, like, dude, we need you to like be physical and be tough down there. And I thought Chet kind of got him a couple times in the first quarter. And then from then on, I thought KP upped the intensity and basically dominated that matchup, especially with Chet on offense and KP on defense. So, they know he is super important to this team, and he can't just spot up from three and then be soft around the rim defensively, because then he's not a particularly valuable player. We'd just rather have Al out there if that's how KP's going to play. But if he's flying around on the defensive end, protecting the rim and rebounding, and then doing the post-up stuff on the other end, it's just magic, dude. Like, they're unstoppable when he's playing like that.
Yep, that's the KP. And yesterday, and obviously missing SG and J-Dub, but like when he's playing like that, that's where you understand the without KP, the Celtics aren't the same team type of conversations. Because what's crazy is they're 19 and 3 without KP this year. But it's very clear when he's playing at his ceiling that they're kind of unstoppable. And when you look at how you defend them, it's like, what do you do, dude? Because like he's such a willing shooter on the pick and the pops. He still gives you vertical spacing. And yeah, I really loved those comments from Jaylen. And I think that coming from Jaylen is like where something like that can come from, because they've developed this like really, really good relationship. And, it's kind of half joking, but also probably like, we need you to fucking get dirty down there, bro. Like, we know you're this pretty giant Latvian dude, but we need the Bear Slayer, man. We need you to come out here and save all of Latvia for us.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that conversation's being had now instead of down, 1-2 in the first or second round. I'll stop drumming up fake concern about Kristaps Porzingis now, and thank you again, guys, for talking me off the ledge. One thing also after the game last night, Al Horford mentioned that I think he said, and I'm not quoting him directly here, but like unbiased and thinking clearly that Jaylen Brown is all defense. Is that like a clear bet for you guys? Is Jaylen Brown going to make an all defensive team? Remembering, of course, that it's positionless going into this off season.
I think the positionless thing really screws him. Like Jake and I were talking about on the playback is like how many non-centers are gonna be on the all defensive team? Like 3? I don't have 4. I mean, the first team's going to be like 4 centers, which kind of sucks. But I don't think, and Jake, I think you said like it doesn't really make sense to do all defense positionless in the same way it does all NBA. But that's what it is. I mean, I did a pretty in-depth article on Celtics blog about Jaylen's all defense candidacy. He's just not quite there, man. Like there's off ball, he is so much better. But look at some of these like elite defensive guys like Jaden McDaniels and Herb Jones. They're just like everywhere off ball, and they're as good as Jaylen on ball. So huge improvement. He's solid to good off ball, which is like light years beyond where he used to be. I just don't see it, man. I just don't think he's all NBA level right now.
Yeah, I think he'll get some votes because he has campaigned, and campaigning works, especially coming from the Boston Celtics and the Boston Celtics media. We have very strong powers out here, specifically flowing from this podcast, obviously. But look, it's going to be tough. The positionless thing is nonsense to me for all defense, because it's going to be like Wemby, Gobert, like all the centers are going to, and should be,
Bam.
Kind of at the Bam should be like, Draymond actually probably might be qualify for the minimum games, but like they should be if it's positionless. He's been awesome. I'm not sure I quite see the all defense case, but I do love Al Horford, teammate of the year. If anything, if there's any award we really need to get, it's Al Horford, teammate of the year, and I love that. Just very unbiased. Very clearly, he should be all defense first team. That's just beautiful stuff from Mr. Al Horford.
That's like us when we're without bias. I totally recommend this podcast.
Yeah,
exactly.
The most objective
on it.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny though, because Jaylen Brown and to some degree as well, Derek White are the two Celtics players getting some all defense talk. But if you guys had to choose one Celtic player to lock down, the opposing team's star player on a given late game possession, which Celtic would you choose? Because I bet it might not be either of those two guys. It might be someone else.
This has like gotten really difficult because Jaylen has his moments on ball where he's just like absolutely incredible. Part of me thinks like if it's a bigger wing or a center, it's Al Horford. And then another part of me is like, if you're just like, you pick an all-star out of a hat, I'm probably taking Jason Tatum or Drew Holiday. So it's kind of a ridiculous embarrassment of riches on the defensive end. But I think it's probably got to be Tatum. Like just play back what he did against Shea in the first OKC game, man. Like nobody can stop that dude when he's healthy. And Tatum did. Like, shut him down, made him pass every time he tried to get into the lane. So I think it's got to be Tatum, but man, there's a lot of options.
Yeah, I think like if, it's mystery box player and you get to choose one Celtic to defend that player without knowing who it's going to be, you're going to go Tatum because he has by far the most versatility. Tatum's become, again, underrated because of how good Derek White and Drew Holiday and Jaylen playing awesome defense and Jaylen talking about his defense and everybody talking about how much Jaylen's defense has improved. Tatum's also had a better defensive season this year, I think, than he had last year. And he's so good off ball, like compared into elite cornerbacks in the NFL all the time. He just doesn't get the people attacking him ever, because there's just no point. And the way that he offers legit rim protection, like they use him in the roving role. Like he's not obviously as good at it as Robert as Porzingis because he's like 6'9" and not 7 foot. But he can do that. He can switch on to everybody. He gets into pass. Like he does this thing. He did it yesterday where like there's like a drop coverage and then they kind of trap the ball handler with those two guys, and then Tatum's like right there waiting for like the pass back across the court or back to that player, and he's so good at reading those passing lanes, and he's been really good at that lately, and like that's kind of more valuable off-ball defense and team defense and like that individual defense. Like even Sam Hauser can kind of like, if you're going to ISO him, he can kind of be sturdy to be really good ISO, but then also be able to offer all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. It's Jason Tatum, especially when you get to the playoffs.
Yeah, it is for me as well, which, like you guys said, it's an embarrassment of riches. Sorry, Spoonie.
No, I've cut you off, Ben. So sorry. But he also like guards the center a lot, so KP can do the roaming role. Like Joe just trusts him. Like he was checking Chet a lot as the primary defender, letting KP just wander off, Lou Dort and stuff like that. So, and he's an amazing defensive rebounder now too, which is a huge benefit because he's basically playing the 4. So you got to be able to rebound at that position.
He's been our best rebounder for 2 years in a row now. Like,
yeah. Yep. It's like not even that close, really.
Yeah.
Look, we're going to come back in a minute with maybe the beefiest, meatiest, juiciest version of the Shart and Freuder report all season. But first, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. March is over, but the biggest moments of college basketball tip off in the month of April. Be a part of the action on Prize Picks for both men's and women's college basketball. And get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can even make the play-in rounds seem interesting since we all know the Celtics won't be there. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Personally, I'm looking at Derek White more on points because they are criminally low, and we all know Derek White is going to come up big in the postseason. So download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100.
Oh baby, what an ad read from Spoonie.
What my voice sounds like to you people? How do you listen to this?
Amazing. Yeah, look, sign up to Prize Picks, download the app, use the code CLNS if you want to support the show, our show, as well as the many other great shows on the CLNS network. Prize Picks, download the app, use the code CLNS, supplement your viewing experience. It's a fun way to enhance your hoops experience by just adding a little bit of extra spiciness there. So use that code CLNS. All right, before we get to the Shart and Freuder report, a quick note. Should have done this up the top, but please subscribe to the First to the Floor YouTube channel if you're watching over at CLNS. First of all, subscribe and like over there, but also hop over here to First to the Floor and subscribe to our channel. We do have our end of season awards show coming up, which is going to be a lot of fun. And join the Discord, because at the moment our Discord is helping us drum up material for that awards show. There's going to be voting on the nominees and the winners of all of those awards. So we'll make that public on Twitter as well, but hop into the Discord if you want to be part of that conversation as well. Wayne Spoonie's latest 3-leaf clover, all about, correct me if I'm wrong here, I skimmed it before the show. I haven't read it yet. I apologize, Spoonie, but it's all about the late game offense, what the Celtics could do better, what they're already doing well. So check out Spoonie's column on CelticsBlog.com. It's, for my money, the best content on Celtics blog and on the internet for Celtics fans, I'll say.
No,
aside from this podcast.
Non-biased, clear case.
That's right.
Best content.
Just call me teammate of the year. You can check out our merch store as well. The link is below in the description. And we do have a new design coming out sometime in the next 24 hours. I'll just tease it by saying, well, first of all, look at Jake's disdain on Jake's face. And I'll also say Al Horford juice. Let's just leave it there. All right, guys. Let's
subtle,
get to...
though. It's very subtle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Something you can wear when you visit your mum, of course. Let's get to the Shart and Freuder report.
I cannot believe.
Jake. Take it away, sir.
We're back. Man, this has to be just renamed to the Bucks report at this point. Like, what a just embarrassing season that they've had. And I put up that rant that we had from the last episode on Twitter, getting some bookmarks from Bucks fans. I think those bookmarks have started to be unbookmarked as they come to the realization that their team is oh so fraudulent. I'm not sure how it's getting worse for them. Like, they had a nice little easy stretch here to go down against the Wizards and then followed up with the loss to the Grizzlies yesterday. Like, they need these wins, dude. Like, they are if the rest of the Eastern Conference wasn't just imploding around the rest of the Eastern Conference, not the Celtics, of course, they would be out of the 2, out of the 3, into the 4. Like, they need to win these games, and lucky for them, no one's able to kind of like catch them. I think the Magic might be able to get up there, but they should look like they could fall out of the 2 into the 3. And then you've got issues with Giannis and Dame now not playing. We're going to get to Doc Rivers' comments here, but they are the 18-19 Kyrie Celtics absolutely reincarnated. Like, I can't get over that comparison enough. Like, the way that the rest of Bucks fans and NBA media fell over themselves, getting ready to slobber all over the Bucks because they had one impressive win over the Thunder, who like have kind of started to fall apart. Like, as now Shea is in and out of the lineup with this quad injury, like, kind of checks out that he wasn't able to play well against that Bucks team. Like, they can look like they're kind of running out of gas. They're one good win, lose to the Lakers, lose to the, like, they're 2-3 since that win. They're below 500. Like, whichever way you slice the Doc Rivers era is a disaster. 30-13 before Doc, 15-15 after Doc, and that's the two realities that we live in the NBA.
It's beautiful, man. Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to wait.
Nice.
Let it breathe. What have you got? I mean, I want to play this Doc clip, but you got any takes on this team before we get to that?
So I have a real quick. Dame is out, right? He's nursing his groin. So I looked at which, mine needs a lot of nursing these days. So I looked at their on-off combos with Dame, Chris Middleton, and Giannis. There is not a combination that's in the positive without Dame. Every on-off, Giannis and Middleton together, negative. Giannis by himself, negative. All three of them off, massively negative. All the positive lineups have Dame in them. So they need him. Like, he's banged up going into the playoffs and not playing at 100%. No matter how bad on defense he is, they got him because it makes their offense borderline unstoppable. And if he's not playing at that unstoppable level, like, they're terrible, like negative, like not a 500 team bad without him. So I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but it kind of bodes very poorly for the Bucks playoff chances if he's nursing that groin for a long period of time, or if it's more serious. Like, who knows, man? Those soft tissue injuries can really linger for like long time. That was not proper English. They can linger for a long time.
They linger for a very long time.
That's great. Yeah, well, obviously we don't wish injury on anybody, but there's just hilariousness with how Bucks fans have been very active online with gassing themselves up and shitting on the Celtics, contrasted with them. If you're listening to the audio pod, there's some great comments here on YouTube. You should definitely check out the YouTube show. Contrasted with losses to the Wizards and the Grizzlies, like back to back there. Just a hilarious mixture of fun for non-Bucks fans there, particularly us here as owners of the Shart and Freuder report. But then defensively, it's such a nightmare because Brook in drop was particularly effective when you had Drew Holiday chasing guys around screens. He was easily 50% of the impact of that drop defense. Dame Lillard, not even close, does not even hold a candle to what Drew Holiday is capable of in terms of screen navigation and being half of a really impactful drop defense duo. Now he's out completely, and they've got no one to step up in his wake. No one who is even close to a competent perimeter defender. Chris Middleton is completely dropped off. Offensively, he's been a little bit better, but defensively, he's dog shit to the point where they bench him during critical defensive possessions. So just not looking good there for the Bucks. And if you ask Doc Rivers, it's anyone's fault but his.
On the road, another 1-2 road.
I don't know. I think focus. I don't know what it is. It's funny. I've actually been sitting back and watching everything. Not just our players, but our travel crew, everything. And I've made a lot of notes. I will say that. I won't share that. But we don't bring the necessary professionalism, seriousness on the road. And that's something that we can fix. That's something we're going to have to fix.
Do you feel like that just gets cleaned up in the playoffs? Like, have you seen that in the past?
Yeah, I'm not concerned. Yeah, the playoffs are a new beast, but I'm looking at it for the long run, too. I mean, it's not just for now.
He's the best, dude.
He's a master.
What is this? Like I've been taking some notes. I'm not going to share them because they could be good or they could be bad, but the intonation is definitely that they're bad, and that the ball boys that what's going on with the Bucks organization from Giannis to Doc talking shit about the ball boys and the towel guys, like the professionalism on the road. Like it can't be the fact that the roster sucks or the Doc doesn't know how to coach or anything like that. Like it's everything else. It's a professionalism on the road. It's that Kyrie team, dude. The vibes. It's all off. It's all off, and they're gonna convince themselves with like one good win every like week and a half at this point.
Yeah. Doc's notes are like my high school girlfriend. Totally exists, just goes to a different school. Like, you guys just haven't met her yet. I've got notes that'll fix all this stuff.
I got notes, dude.
It's crazy, man. Like, did he blame like the equipment managers a few weeks ago? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what does your team think when you go out there and just like essentially blast them? And like this, you think the Celtics are professional? We've seen those plane rides. Everybody's gambling and yucking it up. Like, that can be good for team chemistry. Clearly, it's not on the Bucks, though, and we all know it's not Doc Rivers' fault, though. So glad he clarified. Yeah.
What's the over-under on like emails, inquiries to the HR department of the Milwaukee Bucks? Like, dear HR, I feel personally targeted. My job was to pack suitcases and put them on the plane, and suddenly Doc Rivers is talking about me in post-game press conferences. I do not get paid enough to handle this kind of thing. Please help.
Yeah, I'm getting death threats at the games because I'm not throwing competent bounce passes back to the players when the ball comes to me. It's like, Jesus Moses, dude.
Meanwhile, we've got Deuce like rebounding for guys for pre-game warm-ups, and everything's fine and dandy so far in Celtics land. So, all right, let's move away from the Shart and Freuder report now because we want to talk about injuries around the league, and we've been very clear and unbiased in making sure that those things are decoupled from the Shart and Freuder report. But Jake, things in the land of the New York Knicks have taken a turn for the worse overnight. Things were already pretty dicey with what's going on with OG Anunoby and the unclear status with his elbow and when he might return. Now, Julius Randle tried to come back, apparently, with the shoulder situation, re-aggravated it, re-injured it during some sort of scrimmage. Now he's getting surgery. He's out for the season. What do you think is happening with the New York Knicks?
Yeah, I went kind of back and forth on the Randle thing because I think, like, in a regular season vacuum, I think that, like, the Knicks are kind of better with the OG and then the Anunoby and the rest of the Knicks without Randle because I think he can be such a black hole and kind of like a bit of a downer. But reading a lot of Knicks Twitter and stuff today and various reports, like, they're going to miss him. And T-Mac in the chat brought this up as well. Like, outside of Brunson, they just don't have enough creation. Like, no one can create their own shot consistently at all, really, on that team. As good as Spoonie's guy Deuce McBride has been in this new run here, but like Brunson's the only guy that can run offense at all. Even with OG coming back, like he's a good spot up guy, but he's not that's like a massive weakness of his. Like, and I think that actually could be a disaster for them if he comes back and he tries to like be a guy that's putting the ball on the ground. Like he cannot handle the ball, can't make decisions. He's a get in the corner. He can cut off ball. That's the kind of offensive player that he is. They're going to miss Randall's creation really badly. And then even with OG Anunoby, because like, man, these teams and injuries, dude, why do I have to be like Sherlock Holmes to figure out like what's going on with anyone's injuries? Whether it's like, I mean, Embiid and the Sixers are the worst. OG Anunoby's another like guy in Embiid's multi. But I did find this report from I think his name's Ian Begley from the Knicks, on OG Anunoby here, which I'll play.
Now the Knicks wait to hear on OG Anunoby and the medical people involved there taking a conservative approach with Anunoby. I don't know if he has been cleared to do everything yet. Once he gets cleared to do everything, I'm told he has to still get through several hurdles before being cleared to get back on the court. So it's a wait-and-see situation there. But the Knicks do have a definitive answer on Julius Randle. He will not be back this season.
It's just a nonsense word soup. It's like he hasn't been cleared for everything yet, but he will be cleared. Once he is cleared for everything, then he'll be back. But then he'll have various hurdles to clear after that. It's like, what is he talking about, dude? And the OG Anunoby thing is interesting because like they obviously traded a lot to get him, and he's a free agent after this season. There's definitely an under the table wink wink thing that's happened where they've probably already agreed to a number. But if he was to like get injured and have a lingering thing, I promise you that number goes away, similar to what happened to James Harden and him calling Daryl Morey a liar. And then the rest of the league's probably not going to be giving OG Anunoby the $40 million that he was expecting. So if you're OG Anunoby, what is the motivation for you to come back and play through an injury similar to the Isaiah Thomas thing that comes to mind when like this is his chance to get easily his biggest contract? He's been a guy that struggled with injuries throughout his career, and there's been the reports of him being someone that doesn't like to play kind of through pain and through injuries. Take those reports with a grain of salt because stuff's kind of coming from everywhere. But you mix that kind of report with like Tom Thibodeau, it's like oil and water, dude. It's like, oh, you don't want to go out there with like your arm falling off. Like you're not a
What are you,
not
a baby?
Team, yeah, are you soft? So yeah, like that's just kind of a disaster for the Knicks, and they feel like they're gonna run out of gas, man. Like Tibbs have been running out of gas lately. They've lost all these close games. Josh Hart has been playing 45 minutes a night. DiVincenzo's right at the top of the league in minutes as well, and Brunson's carrying like the heaviest load in the NBA, dropping 60 points against the Spurs in losses. Like they feel like they were the team that people were kind of picking as like the Celtics foil, and now it just feels like they kind of have no chance.
Yeah, to your point on Randle, when OG and Randle are on the court together, they have 128 offensive rating, which would easily lead the league. When OG's out there without Randle, they have a 95 defensive rating, which would easily lead the league. But teams were shooting 29% from three. So, like, that's fake. That's totally fake. That would come up. The defensive rating would come up. So, Randle and OG together, they are extremely good defensively and extremely good offensively. And then you take one of those guys out and you lose either the defense with OG or the offense with Randle, and they might not have either guy. And like, yeah, Deuce is great. He's not a primary creator, dude. Like, he will never be. He's going to be like a nice eighth man for the rest of his career, which is great. So yeah, I just don't know what you do. And that's a good point I hadn't really considered about like, what is the motivation for OG to like potentially affect his long-term career, and like are the Knicks with OG added like a title contender? Not really. Like maybe they can make the Eastern Conference Finals. I wouldn't really pick them to do it without Randle. So he has no motivation, I guess is what it comes down to come back. He just wants to cash his checks and start playing again. So they're in a really tough spot, and I have a soft spot for the Knicks, and it sucks to see. And I'd rather beat them with their full strength team because the Knicks fans were getting confident. And then what do we 4-0 them this year, if I recall correctly? So yeah, we'll see how that. Hopefully we do that in the playoffs as well. So it's just a tough spot. I'm not really sure what they do, but I could see them going down in the first round pretty easily.
Yeah, I like the Knicks and their fan base, so I felt genuine remorse when I saw this report. So hopefully everyone gets healthy there soon. Sticking in the East here, kicking around the Eastern Conference a little bit more. The Sixers are playing the Heat right now as we stream this pod live on YouTube. Like, subscribe, score update. I don't know. Is anyone saving the game for after the show?
I watched the first half, and then I've got the score. I saw someone put an update in the chat earlier, so we can talk about it. But yeah.
Okay. So the Sixers are up on the Heat currently. Joel Embiid has a very efficient 29 points, 4 boards, 2 assists in just 22.5 minutes. Embiid's looking good. That's beginning to be concerning. But if the Heat stay out of the play-in, which if they lose this game, which it looks like they might, that's going to be more difficult. If they stay in 6, the Sixers are by far the best team in that play-in tournament. They would likely win out that tournament, finish in 7th. And if the Bucks stay in 2nd, we've got this spicy 7-2 matchup between Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo, which I'm really hoping for, while we also avoid the Heat in that scenario. Jake, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Embiid situation? Is it beginning to be more concerning for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was always the thing, right? Like the Sixers before he went down, to me, were the second best team in the Eastern Conference, I thought. And him coming back, I haven't been able to watch like this little section here, but I watched the first half and he was definitely looking very gassed at times. And I think that's going to be something that he's just not going to be able to get close to 100% from a conditioning perspective for the playoffs, and you're going to need to be in order to play this Celtics team in a playoff series. So we'll see from that perspective. But yeah, dude, like that's the matchup you want to avoid. And I was like mostly focused on the Heat, trying to get them into 6, like as if I have some kind of power on it. But now, but now the Sixers, they have a chance to move into 6 still. And so either we want them in 6 or the 7, because that's going to give them a better chance playing at home, playing against whoever. I'd rather play the Heat than the Sixers at this point. Like a healthy Embiid is just pretty clearly like the better team. As scary as the Heat is from a PTSD perspective, I don't think this version of the Celtics they can beat, even though I will be terrified of them. But yeah, hoping that the Pacers, they play the Thunder tomorrow. Hopefully the Thunder play the guys tomorrow. But I ran these numbers today. I sounded like I'm a hacker when I say that. But breaking down the net ratings in the East when Doc Rivers took over as the line of demarcation. That's a 30-game sample size. So these are the net ratings over the past 30 games. The Celtics are laughably at 15.8. The next closest net rating is the Heat at 5.7. So Celtics are like 3 times better from a net rating perspective, which is nuts. But it's Heat 5.7, Magic 5.3, and then it kind of goes down slowly. Knicks, Pacers, Hawks, Bucks at 1.9, and then the Sixers net ratings are relevant. But so that's the last 30 games, and then you look at the last 15 games. Celtics still dominating the field here at 15.1. The Knicks next closest at 8.6. Pacers came up at 7.1, and the Magic and Heat pretty steady at 5 net rating, and the Bucks are at a negative 1.5 net rating over the past 15 games, which is astounding that they could be that bad over that long of a sample size. Like the Sixers are relevant with those numbers, but looking beyond that, the Magic to me look like they might be the next best team in the East all of a sudden. Like you might have to just put the Heat ahead of them from an experience perspective, but the way that the Cavs are falling apart, the Bucks and the Knicks for their health reasons, the Magic have just been like really consistent now for all season. And using my philosophy as beating the Celtics is you got to have a really good defense. They've got the second best defense in the league. So I think they could prove to be a tough series, but I just think the Celtics probably dominate them from an offense, from a defensive side of things. All that to say, I don't know what to do, dude. Every day it's changing. Every quarter it's changing. The Sixers went up 17-2. I'm like, oh fuck, and then the Heat came all the way back, and I'm like, oh shit. Yes, this is me. Every day, every minute. I'm like, I don't know what I want. I guess the real answer is just be Joe Mazzulla and be like, we're not mental. We're losers anymore. We're mental alphas, and it doesn't matter who we're playing, and we're gonna kick the shit out of them. But I would like to see the Pacers, Hawks, or Bulls in the first round.
Yes, very much so. I'm a little bit afraid of the Pacers, but not compared to the Heat or Philly, with a healthy Embiid. So, yeah, dude, I'm with you, Jake. I go back and forth. I have no idea. Part of me just like, give me the Heat, get it over with, slay the dragon, and then they'll feel so much more confident going into the playoffs after that. The Magic is interesting. I just think that they have a nice, great setup to win a bunch of regular season games, and defense, it's less it's more consistent than being a great offensive team, so I think that plays into their hands. I just think their ceiling is pretty low with Paulo and Franz right now. They're just too young. They just haven't become who they're going to be in 3, 4, 5 years. So Yeah, but they might be the second best team in the East because all of these teams just have massive, like glaring holes and injury problems, and or they're the Miami Heat and don't take the regular season seriously. So, it's a tough question, but I would agree that I think Philly is the last team I want to play in that 8 seed.
Just because of the injustice of it all, to be this like record-breakingly, historically good, and be like, here's last year's MVP. He's rested. Sure, conditioning is an issue, but he's otherwise the most healthy he's ever been going into the postseason. Here you go, guys. Congratulations on your record-setting season, you fucks. So I'd really like to avoid that reality if possible.
I will say, Russillo did this spot on a FanDuel TV with like Chandler Parsons and Lou Williams, and they were like talking about Heat versus Sixers, and Russillo was like, I think Boston would be totally happy to play Philly, like the Celtics themselves, like Tatum and those guys. I think that they feel the way that the Heat feel about the Celtics and the Bucks.
Yeah.
In that they think that they've got this mental edge over them, which I think that which is totally fair. And the way that you guard Embiid, like it's just like, it's very simple. It's like, we know what we're going to have to do. Like, and we just got to execute and we're going to win. Whereas the Heat just have all the tentacles of the off-ball movement and the devil magic of the shooting. Like Haywood Highsmith had like 12 points in a quarter today. Like just nonsense shit, right? So like I almost can convince myself into being like, just give me, like the Sixers series might go long. Like it's weird. It's like almost like the higher variance for the Sixers. Like I could see a sweep, but I could see it going longer. But like, I just don't think there's any chance the Sixers win a game 7. Like Embiid will just be dead at that point. Whereas like the Heat could just devil magic their way into a game 7, and then who knows what happens.
It's weird. It's almost like I feel like there's a higher chance we sweep Miami than Philly, but there's also a higher chance they beat us than Philly, if that makes any sense at all.
Agreed. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, look, I think if the real takeaway is that if the Celtics play at 80% of their true capabilities, then no one in the East is beating them anyway. Correct. So we stress about this stuff because we're sickos and we care so deeply. But really, if they just come out and play the way they've been playing all regular season, then this should not be a problem. Let's end on this. Spoonie, curious to hear your thoughts. How would you manage the rest of this season? There's 6 or 7 games remaining. Are you playing guys, keeping them conditioned? Are you just resting folks intermittently? What would your approach be?
So I think how they've been doing it is the way to go, where you just kind of have like some guys out every night. Maybe once, I mean, what is there, 6 games left? So maybe one more game, you have the full complement, go full strength. Maybe that Bucks game. Although, do you want to show the Bucks anything? But that's beside the point. What they've been doing, I think, is the right way to approach it. Just like give guys rest nights, but you don't want to get rusty. You want to make sure they're still playing competitive games. And I would not play Al Horford another second for the rest of the season. Sit his ass down. Al's proven everything. Rust does not exist on that man.
That's correct.
He's like he's shiny golden dome. Like, he's not going to get rusty. Just sit him down so he doesn't get hurt, please.
He's already played 50 too many games.
Yeah, he shouldn't have played from day one.
Oh, man. Like, I think number one is don't let Jalen play again at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, what the hand thing is, that's weird, and I don't think he should be playing. He was questionable for tomorrow. I saw that. I'm not sure who else was questionable for tomorrow. I think that may have been it. I think it was Springer.
Derek White, lower back contusion.
I saw lower back contusion.
Yeah.
Well, man, if Derek White's out, bet the house on the Kings, man. 3-3 without Derek White this season.
Yeah.
The Kings are playing right now. They are currently tied going into the fourth quarter with the Knicks. The Celtics kind of getting a couple of schedule breaks at the end here. With like when you look at the schedules, the Thunder could be tough and the Kings could be tough, but you don't do the deep dive and realize that the Thunder play the Sixers the night before and the Kings have to play the Knicks the night before. So getting a nice little break here. You kind of be surprised if the Celtics drop that one. I guess Derek White will play because he always plays. But Al Horford, KP, Drew, Jalen, you guys are getting 3 of the next 6 games off. Tatum and Derek, if I can get you to rest 1 each, that'd be great. That'd be great. Tatum only played 29 minutes yesterday. So We've been actually buying him, like, and that's the thing. The minutes of this regular season are not the same as the minutes of the last 2 seasons because they have more 25-point wins or tied for 25-point wins as losses. Just losses.
That's insane.
That's so
insane.
So like the level of the minutes that they've played this year are not as intense as years past. So I do think like they're going to be as fresh as you kind of can be going into the playoffs, which is fucking awesome. But like, don't tempt fate here. You see what's happening with all these injuries around the league. Just like loose balls, don't dive on them.
Never.
Let them go. That's for
rebounds.
No first to the floor. We haven't had a single first to the floor moment all year. Now's not a time to start, right? We don't need any new clips for the intro at this point. We're sitting pretty here. Greeny on Twitter is going on about how Jordan Walsh has led the Maine Celtics to a playoff win and going to the G League Eastern Conference Finals. They beat the Sixers affiliate team, the Delaware, something or other, the Blue Coats.
Yes.
So that's interesting, but we're going to need Walshy back for some of these games because, like, last couple of games, Bucks, let's not take that game seriously. I doubt the Bucks will even take it seriously. Knicks, okay, like we said, we respect the Knicks. And then it's Hornets, Wizards to finish out the season. Like, we need to be recruiting playable talent from anywhere but our starting 9 players for those games. So Jordan Walsh, Drew Peterson, Neemias Queta, have fun. Go out there and get 50. The Kings, we play tomorrow. I put in here space for a preview. I don't really give a shit about this game. I know we did the pod like a couple of weeks ago about why you should give a shit about the rest of the season, but like now 60 wins, every milestone has been met. The Kings play the Knicks tonight, like they're coming off a back-to-back. Ideally, we see no one important in that game tomorrow, which kind of makes it fun. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Who's going to play? Who's going to insert themselves in a way they've never before? Hashtag PP. What could happen?
Yeah, we really needed the hashtag PP.
Maybe some of the new listeners who are just getting up to speed on the tone of the show.
Oh, fantastic.
Richard's going for 30 on these bums, dude.
Yeah, dude. He's got to match Malachi Flynn's 50, dude. He can't let the other little white guy outscore him in March and April.
That is Tony Delk levels of can't believe this dude dropped 50. It's like Corey Brewer, Tony Delk, and now Malachi Flynn.
Sadiq Bey is even like on a different level compared to those guys. It's
dude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes,
but he might make a decent Mount Rushmore though too. Sadiq,
sure.
right now, I think he's on the Mount Rushmore.
Agreed.
Until someone shittier than him hits 50.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, subscribe, leave us a comment, and let us know your thoughts on 60 wins and how we should play out the remainder of the season. We'll be back with another pod early next week. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.
I love the Celtics!